or why? Let's ride.
What are you doing?
Sports! Okay, so at the time of this recording, I just compounded a Scottaboo sandwich prior to coming on. So let me explain everything before we get to the introductions and everything. Talercio's makes a kick-ass sandwich. And I mean this because I went there. Oh God, John started this whole thing once upon a time. That's all I'm going to say. Anyways, welcome to Foursquare Sports, episode number 24, Start Spreading the News. And the reason why it's called Start Spreading the News is because a lot of things happened in New York, specifically with the big blue team. We'll get into that. Anyways, Matt Sirianni, John Walsh with us the first hour. Kevin Zelks, Golf's Alec Nava. Gentlemen, how are you?
Pretty good.
Two thumbs up. Also, before we actually get on, I do want to give a shout out to Kevin for calling a Texas football game between Dickinson and I forget the other school, but Dickinson upset. Yeah, Dickinson upset their biggest rival. They haven't beaten them since Kevin lived in Texas. The game for Legacy Sports Network got about 5,280 listeners last night. Kevin was there for producing the whole thing. Legacy Sports Network. I don't know how successful how that is compared to other casts, but from what Kevin told me, it was one of the best casts that the company's probably done this year. So Kevin, well done.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, it was a back and forth game. Dickinson won 51-47, and they face Pearland next round, and that'll be next week on AllisonSports.com. So feel free to listen to that whenever if y'all get the chance. And I'm very happy for Dickinson because they have not beaten Atascocita the time since I've been there. They've always lost them either first or second round. So yeah, thanks.
And like I said, massive upset. So we're going to start off with college football. And the reason why we're going to start off with college football is not only feeding off of what happened last week, but going into what happened this week. So I wanted to go into last week, but I want to start off by saying Texas A&M just doesn't seem to go away, do they? South Carolina, who were up 30-3 at the half in Texas A&M in College Station, I should say. They gave up a 30-3 lead at halftime, and they lost 31-30 to Texas A&M, who now improves to 10-0 on the season. Unbelievable. And then Indiana won 31-7 over Wisconsin. Ohio State defending champions are playing UCLA right now. They're up 7-0 late in the first quarter. And Alabama, this is big. Alabama lost to Oklahoma 23-21 minutes before we came on. And this has just been telling you what kind of week this has been. Georgia and Texas are playing right now. They're with the Texas A&M Longhorns, with Texas up 3-0 over Georgia. Whew. And also Texas Tech is dominant. They took care of UCF 48-9.
And also, real quick, Matt, Georgia Tech almost lost to Boston College. It only has one win.
Crazy. A one-win Boston College team. Penn State got their first win in almost 2 months over Michigan State. Don't tell that to Jake Hogger. He would not be happy. Or Patrick Rush for that matter. But a lot of crazy results. USF lost to Navy, who might win the AAC. Now, for those of you who want to know what the standings are going to be after the regular season and conference championship week, let me tell you how the playoff format's going to be. It's going to consist of the 5 best conference champions and 7 at-large bids. So keep that in mind as I'm telling you the results of the top 12 so far, but according to the selection committee. So if we did our 5 conference champions, it would be either Ohio State or Indiana, depending who comes out of the Big Ten. Texas A&M, who represents the SEC so far. So there's your 2 conference champs out of 5. Texas Tech, let's say they represent the Big 12. That's 3. The ACC, which is a pure and utter dumpster fire. Someone's going to come out of that conference, so that's 4. And then it looks like the AAC, the American Athletic Conference, is going to have the 5th conference championship bid, even though USF lost. Our Navy's still really good. They might even end up getting that bid, or North Texas. But
North Texas is really good.
North Texas is really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of possibilities. Now, the 7 at-large bids at this point would be either Indiana or Ohio State, depending on who comes out. It would be Alabama, although they took a hit by losing to Oklahoma. Georgia, who's playing right now. Ole Miss, who's playing right now. Oregon, who won 42-13 over Minnesota. Notre Dame, who's still hanging in there. And then I guess Oklahoma's going to be in that 7th spot of the at-large bids, assuming things go their way. Now, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, 7. I'm counting using my fingers. That just tells you how crazy this is. But no, this has been absolutely bananas so far of a college football season. I want to get into the Texas A&M game versus South Carolina really quick before we dive into the landscape of what college football playoffs could be this year. 30-3. I mean, come on, you got to put the game away. And Texas A&M, they didn't really force a lot of turnovers. South Carolina just couldn't capitalize. They punted the ball away. Their first 3 drives of the third quarter where they got absolutely dominated. And then Texas A&M fought back. And then at the end of the game, on a 4th and 16, you run? No. Not the way it works. Kevin, I'm going to come to you first. When it comes to Texas A&M winning the way they did today, do you think that kind of sets them for a playoff berth, or do you think that there's still more work to be done? After all, they still got to get that bye.
I think that this has proven that you can never count this Aggies team out. I feel like you said, if you're South Carolina, like I wake up, it's 30-3. I go to the bathroom, I come back, the game is tied practically at that point. So yeah, like if you're Texas A&M, I feel like there's definitely some more work to be done because I don't think if you're top 3, if you're ranked 3rd and you're top of the SEC, you should be having a much larger gap against the South Carolina team. That's really been hit or miss this season, mostly miss. But yeah. I like the tenacity that they showed all game. They were never out of it. And I think they definitely have a lot of things they got to work on if they want to get to where they want to be. But I think that this A&M Aggies team, this team has shown you that they are relentless and then it can never go away. So absolutely, I think it does set them as a playoff team, but you do see the weaknesses in there for sure.
Yeah, flaws were definitely shown. And I feel like most teams in here, even the unbeaten teams, really Ohio State's the only team in college that hasn't shown any flaws. But Indiana definitely had flaws. They almost lost to Penn State last week. And then Texas A&M here got blown out in the first half, bounced back, but still undefeated. Alec, I'm going to come to you. So when it comes to these 3 unbeatens, like Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, do you think the pressure of going unbeaten for the entire regular season is kind of starting to weigh on them? Because like I said, Indiana was dominating teams early, had a big hiccup against Penn State, but was able to bounce back. Same can be said for Texas A&M. Do you think the pressure of going unbeaten is kind of setting in for these 3 teams?
For Ohio State, it doesn't seem that way, but for Indiana and Texas A&M, you can say, yes, it's starting to weigh in on Indiana and A&M. A&M almost caved into South Carolina of all teams, but Lenora Sellers is no slouch. But what Kevin said, is the fact that A&M came back to beat South Carolina showed that you can never count out this Aggies team at any point, no matter how much they're down by. The only way you can put the dagger on them is that if you get big of a lead and don't let go of it. South Carolina did not take advantage of keeping that lead because they let it go in that second half. They were being a little conservative at that second half with A&M storming back. That third quarter was huge. And in that fourth quarter, A&M just locked down South Carolina the entirety of that fourth quarter. When it looked like there were chances to make it take the lead back, nope, gone.
It's gone. That's pretty much what happened.
Yep, and it's gone. Well,
But
yeah, thanks for. I've been in such a South Park mood lately, Matt. Why'd you bring this out of me?
See, I'm a big South Park fan myself. But one thing you did mention, yes, South Carolina did get complacent. And I think this is what we've seen from them all season long. Because this is the same team that almost upset Alabama, kept it close with Missouri, and there were other occasions where they probably could have pulled off the win, but didn't. And listen, South Carolina, as underrated as the team as they be, I mean, they're only 3-7 this year, but they need better coaching in that situation. If you're up 30-3, you gotta hammer it down. You gotta not let up. You gotta keep the ball rolling. And that's what South Carolina didn't do. To credit Texas A&M, they did what they had to do. They're still atop the SEC. And right now, I think they're poised to maybe make the SEC championship. I mean, their only 2 games left are against Samford and Texas. I mean, those are really the 2 games left down there, right? Samford's a given. And then Texas at Texas. That could be an interesting one because Texas is playing competitively against Georgia right now. They're trying to get in the college football playoff themselves.
I mean, Arch Manning, in the narratives, when we thought that we counted him out earlier.
Yeah.
No,
Texas is still hanging in there. And it's amazing because the SEC is stacked. Like, I just counted the at-large bids on top of the conference championship bids. You're looking at potentially 6 teams from the SEC making the college football playoff at 12. 6 of the 12 spots could be from the SEC, which is ludicrous. Mm-hmm. Absolutely ludicrous. And like, I think that just says a lot about how stacked the conference is. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, in another conference, the ACC is a dumpster fire. I mean, we've talked about with Jake Cardinelli when he was on the show. He mentioned Virginia could be a sleeper to win the ACC. They end up losing their only conference game of the year to a team in Wake Forest who was not fantastic, and they lost by a score of 16-9. And then Clemson's going to be is at 500 now. They're 5-5, but Georgia Tech almost lost to Boston College, but yet they were able to hold on. Pitt got spanked by Notre Dame. SMU, they're on a bye, but they're kind of sneaky under there. I mean, John, I'm going to come to you since we have you back now. The ACC, for what it's worth, is not the best conference, but who do you think has a chance to even come out of there if indeed one team has to come out from the ACC to make the playoff?
Honestly, I think it's a 3-horse race. I think you've got Georgia Tech. I like Virginia, and I think Miami still has a shot.
You really think so?
Yeah.
The only reason why I'm kind of going to disagree with you there is because Miami did lose in overtime to SMU, and they did lose to Louisville, who also, by the way, lost to Clemson in an upset. Like, the ACC is just all over the place.
It is. They also have that win against Notre Dame early in the season.
That's correct. That's true. That's true. And Notre Dame's looking like a team that went from 0-2 and dead in the water to now possibly getting a top 8 seed, which we didn't think was going to be possible earlier in the season. But one thing I will say, and I think this is really good for Notre Dame's resume, those 2 losses to Miami and Texas A&M, they lost those 2 games by a combined 4 points. The rest of the way, they've been very, very consistent, very, very dominant for the most part. And now here they are.
One of the most interesting seasons where Notre Dame has touched a lot of contenders, Miami, A&M, and Texas Tech too.
Yeah, that's true. And Miami, say what you will about Carson Beck, but the Louisville loss and the SMU loss kind of hurt them. But I look at the ACC, back to that. The fact that SMU and Pitt still have a chance to even make the conference championship is incredible. I think it just tells you how bad the conference is, right, Alan?
I mean, yeah, even though we lost, I had no expectations for us in the Notre Dame game, but the fact that we still even have a chance to win the ACC just shows how much of a raging dumpster fire that this conference is. The best chances go to Miami and Georgia Tech, and to an extent, Virginia. But the fact that we're not out of it shows how bad this conference has become, how far the mighty have fallen. But then again, where did this conference even start at the beginning? Many are saying that it was going to be Clemson, then Miami emerged with Carson Beck's play, And then those losses for Miami happened. So now we're here, and it's wide open.
And keep in mind, Georgia Tech was undefeated. I think they were 8-0 to start the year, and then the NC State game happened and the wheels fell off a little bit. They bounced back, but if they had lost to Boston College, their season would have been over.
Big time.
Big time.
Georgia Tech's problem is that defense is optional for them, and that's one of the reasons they get behind in games.
Yeah, absolutely.
True,
Absolutely. I feel like that's the case with most ACC defenses. The ACC defensively is just one of the worst conferences in college football. Whereas the SEC, you're going to get one of the stout.
Yeah, we're talking about defenses in the Big 12 and the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, the Big 12, I mean, Texas Tech, we talked about them, all the money that they've put in, thanks to their athletic director. But keep in mind, with the at-large bids, Utah's still hanging around. BYU still exists. And hell, even though teams like Cincinnati and Arizona State are probably not going to sniff the playoff, they're still putting on good seasons. So the Big 12 is coming along strong. I just think Texas Tech's going to represent. Fair to say.
Arizona State had an upset win today.
They did. And I think, and this is the one thing I really wanted to mention, I feel like we teased this debate last episode, but I feel like I got to have this debate now. So I mentioned Notre Dame, those first two losses to Texas A&M and Miami. They've bounced back. They've won 8 in a row. They look really good. But college football prides himself on tradition. Tradition. They stress that word a lot. And Notre Dame traditionally has always been an independent in football. But what I'm going to say right now is something that has been discussed for a long time. And it involves the word tradition and maybe changing tradition. And even though college football prides himself on that magic T word, they've broken tradition in the past with the realignment. And I'm going to say this right now. Notre Dame should join the ACC. And here's why. Because Notre Dame, if you look at their schedule, every year half their games are against ACC opponents. They're not playing in a conference championship, which can enhance their resume, especially in a format that values conference championship when you're getting 5 conference champions in there. The ACC is a dumpster fire. If they were to win the ACC every year, they'd be a perennial playoff contender without stressing out playing scattered schedules. I mean, yeah, they got the USC game every year, but that's not really – that's a rivalry game through historic means. But they play a Mountain West game every year. Like, they need a balanced schedule, a consistent schedule to know who they're playing. Because I feel like for the most part, Notre Dame is just kind of like rolling dice and seeing who they get. But half the times it's the ACC. And they're in the ACC in basketball. They're in the ACC in baseball. They're in the ACC in lacrosse. They're in the ACC in women's sports. And they're really good at women's sports in the ACC. Why can't they just go full-fledged ACC? That, to me, is, I think, the main thing. I've been saying this for a long time. My uncle, who went to Notre Dame, is saying the same thing, that the conference should include Notre Dame, and there should be continuity, which there isn't any continuity with Notre Dame, across all sports. I'm going to start with John here. What do you think, John?
I mean, I agree that they need to join a conference. I just think long-term, because of tradition and because of the gravitas and the money they bring to the table, that long-term they fit, their football team fits in the Big 12 better.
The Big 12 is an interesting scenario, but then wouldn't you have to do like a complete change with the other teams associated with Notre Dame?
That'd be a really interesting contract conversation.
I'm going to come to Alec next on this one. What do you think, Alec, with this whole Notre Dame should join a conference discussion?
The ACC has been the primary affiliate conference of Notre Dame, so if they want to join a conference, it could be there for them the opportunity to join the ACC should it come. So I think it's realistic that they do.
Kev, now one thing I didn't mention, and I think Kev's going to know this, Notre Dame joined the ACC in 2020 when all other independents, really UMass and UConn, because they're the only two football independents, didn't play because of the COVID pandemic. And they almost won the ACC championship in 2020. Had Trevor Lawrence not gotten involved. But anyway, they were in the ACC for football 1 year. Why not stick with it? Why would they just go back to being independent? I know Notre Dame prides himself on that, but why do they not just go with the change?
I don't know, Matt. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. I feel like there should be continuity for Notre Dame, especially for their football program. I mean, we talked about it, how they started off 0-2. We didn't think they were going to be up to the caliber, and we thought that maybe like their season was over. Not the case anymore. And I think, like to John's point, I think putting them in a more competitive conference, not just ACC, I think would benefit them more. I could see an argument for Big 12, but I think Big 10. I think would be a little bit better, more competition for them because you have right now 6 teams that are ranked right now. You have Indiana, Ohio State, USC, Oregon, Michigan, and Iowa. I feel like they could have better competition with those teams in that conference as opposed to the ACC, where maybe Georgia Tech and I guess Miami would be the only 2 teams that I could see to really contest them, in my personal opinion. But I agree that like Notre Dame needs to join a conference because I feel like they're too good to just stand in their own conference.
Yeah, like really in football, there's only 3 independents. Like I said, UMass, UConn, Notre Dame. That's it. Everyone else is in a conference. And well, technically, if you want to count the Pac-2, which is bad, that's kind of a joke, but
ridiculous.
It stands to reason. Like UConn, I mean, the Big East doesn't have a football conference. And UMass, I forget what conference they're in other sports, but like you need to be in a conference. I think it's just important that a conference championship resume should be good for Notre Dame. And for a guy like Marcus Freeman, who almost took Notre Dame to the promised land last year, even though they weren't independent, they'd probably have a smoother ride if they were in a conference. And even though, yes, the Big Ten is, you can make a fair argument because USC exists over there, one of their historic rivals. That makes a little bit of sense. But that would have to be a big major conference switch. The other reason why I can see maybe the Big Ten is because you got 2 teams from Indiana already in the Big Ten, Purdue and Indiana. And Notre Dame is in South Bend, which is also in Indiana. So you have 3 schools in one state in one conference, which is actually kind of insane. I never thought I'd think about that, but it just seems a little bit too much. That's why I say the ACC. Like I said, the schedule balance favors that conference, and just the situation itself favors that conference. And right now, I think Marcus Freeman will be a star in Notre Dame and the ACC, where you got Daboll and Belichick. Even though those 2 are flopping, you still have a presence in Notre Dame. And I know we mentioned, money laundering and everything with Notre Dame. They make a lot of money by being in a conference. I know Rudy is iconic for that school, but think of it. Notre Dame, you have a marketable personality, Marcus Freeman, Jeremiah Love, who, yes, I think he's going to the draft this year, but it's like a big thing for them. And the brand itself, being a part of a conference would be huge.
And Matt, you said that 3 teams from the same state is too much. The Big 12 has 4 teams from Texas.
Texas Tech and
Houston, TCU, Baylor.
TCU. Right, Baylor's in Texas. That's right. 4.
So 4.
No, it's possible. I just think that being independent doesn't really help you. So that's why I really wanted to touch on that a little bit. We do have other things that we want to discuss as far as other sports. We did touch on college football a little bit, but there were other things I wanted to touch on. So this is going to be in other news. And we're going to start off with the story that broke today, and this involves the NHL. And Kevin might want to get some tears out for this one. Jack Hughes is going to miss 2 months of playing time after a freak accident where he hurt his hand on a shard of glass, and his hand is going to have to go through a procedure. Again, missing 2 months of action. The Devils, I think, are up 2-0 right now, I believe.
Correct.
They're up 2-0 right now.
I got the
First
game right
by
now.
Jack Hughes. But the problem with that comes again with the durability of their star player. He missed the playoffs last year because he was injured, And now here he is. He's going to miss a significant amount of time due to a freak accident, really. Like, I've never seen anything like this before in my life. And I can only imagine Devils fans are not going to like this. Before I come to Kevin, I want to come to Alec on this one. Big blow. What does it say about Jack Hughes as a player and his durability?
Well, y'all know what the team is with Jack Hughes, and we know they can go as far. They can only go as far as he can take them. But what matters is the availability. But this is no laughing matter given how important he is to the Devils. It's so absurd you can't help but shake your head. He's already limited because of a shoulder injury, and now this happens? Come on, man. I mean, the Devils, they already are seeing injuries to their key players. Brent Pesce, Jonathan Kovacevic, Connor Brown, Evgeny Dadonov, they're all on the IR. Jacob Markstrom also missed time to injury earlier in the year. So, but this here, we know what happened down the stretch with the Devils when Hughes was out injured. And it speaks to its overall importance. You'll need others to step up, but you can only do so much when Jack Hughes is out. Nico Hischier, still Nico Hischier. Jesper Bratt, still Jesper Bratt. Luke Hughes on the upwards trend, and we could see him testing for a spot on Team USA for the Olympics. But if the 2 months is the timetable for the return, then could we see Tom Fitzgerald explore the trade market in the coming weeks if he wants to get the Devils an extra piece? They can only have so many shots at the cup with Hughes, Hischier, and Bratt and the others in their primes.
True. The thing with the Devils is, like, the timing of this is so bad because they're the best team in the Eastern Conference. They're trying to compete for the President's Trophy, which no one should compete for at this point because of how cursed that trophy is. But they say that the strongest survives, and I think that at this point the Devils, they're going through the injury bug, and at the very inopportune time. I mean, like I said, 2 months, they're not going to have Jack Hughes back till late January. I mean, this is not exactly ideal for a team that's a Stanley Cup contender, to be exact. And I think as good as the Devils are, and they have gotten better over the last couple of years, the last thing they want to do is have Jack Hughes, their star, missing time due to an injury. And it was, like I said, it was a freak accident, Kev.
Yeah, it was because they had like a team dinner, and I think it was Frank the Tank's birthday, and the team had like a dinner with him, and he cut his hand while trying to cut his steak with a knife, his finger, and he just got successful surgery on it, and that's how you have the diagnosis of his timetable is in 8 weeks, which is 2 months, but they'll reevaluate him in 6 weeks. So we'll see if maybe he comes back earlier. But like you said, it's just last year you knew that like the Devils weren't going to go as far in the playoffs, past the first round without Jack Hughes. I mean, Jack Hughes is the focal point of this Devils team. He's the franchise player for a reason. And with this injury happening, I mean, like these next 2 months are going to like show you like what the Devils really are and how tough they are. Because right now they're up 2-0 currently against the Capitals on the road. One coming from Arseny Gritsuk, who I told you guys I absolutely love this kid. It's his second goal for the season, his first goal on the road. And how about Jack's brother Luke got a goal tonight as well? So guys like that have got to step up. And one injury you forgot to mention, Alec, is Cody Glass. I think he's been a big piece for the Devils too. He's also injured. But then you have guys that just came up, like Shane LaChance is making his MLB debut tonight. And you also have guys like Nathan Legare, who are taking over for the spot of Dougie Hamilton. And I think this team does have the guys and the reinforcements to step up and can really just try to ride the ship until Jack comes back. And Alec mentioned the possibility of trades for Ian Fitzgerald. I wouldn't be shocked if we traded Dougie Hamilton for Quinn Hughes and got all three Hughes brothers on this team. Because I feel like with Dougie Hamilton, the first thing that you think about with Dougie Hamilton is he's always injury prone. Whenever he's on the ice, he's a threat, especially on the power play. But every single season, he gets hurt in some capacity, and it's a detriment to the team, and guys have to step up when they shouldn't really need to. And I get Brett Pesce is going to be out for like another month. He's a big defensive piece where we've seen have some flaws in like the 4 or 5 losses that we had. So Brett Pesce, I think, is one that whenever he is healthy, the defense is going to get a little bit better. But I wouldn't be opposed to trading Dougie for Quinn Hughes because Quinn Hughes is one of the top defensemen consistently in the NHL for a reason. And how cool would it be to see all the Hughes brothers in tandem to be on the same team and could possibly boost that defense for the Devils. And plus, we haven't even seen Dadonov, the acquisition that we got from the Stars, even play yet because he's been injured. So, yeah, I feel like this team can definitely ride the ship. But like you said, other guys, they got to step up and they got to do it.
I did want to know about, in terms of trades, that last year the Devils almost got Braden Shen from the Blues, but the talks fell apart.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, the Devils are there. They just need next man up mentality. They just need to have guys step up. And unfortunately, like, the Devils didn't prove that in the playoff series against Carolina. They kind of just lied down that series once Jack Hughes went down.
There's only so much that New Jersey could do that series.
Exactly. And we all said Jersey loses in 5, and we were right.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, Nemitz did make himself a revelation that series, which was a pleasant surprise.
I was just about to bring up, how about Shimon Nemitz, dude? He came into that game, last game, only having 5 career goals. He hit a hat trick in the game winner. Like, that was a Shimon Nemitz legacy game. And see, that's what I'm talking about. Guys who do that, who normally don't really get their names called, if they can step up, like in all this time that Jack Hughes is missing, I think the Devils should be fine. The question is if they're going to execute it. And so far, at least the first game without Jack Hughes, they're 2-0, looking pretty good so far. But yeah,
a lot of time for sure to make amends for that and like keep themselves afloat. Like I said, the Devils right now have like 25 points most in the NHL. The only team with more points than them is Colorado, who beat the Devils earlier in the year. But the Avalanche are former Stanley Cup champions, so they obviously are going to be a force to be reckoned with no matter what. Now I want to get into another part of the Northeast tri-state area, and I was initially going to say they haven't won a home game yet, but they changed that on Tuesday. I'm talking about the New York Rangers. They were 0-6-1 when even a game I went to the game where they were at home against the Islanders on this past Saturday night, and they got slapped. They lost 5-0. They were 0-6-1. I started a win a home game chant in Madison Square Garden, and people were riding along with that. And like, when you don't win when I'm in the house, that's a problem. And fortunately for the Rangers, they did win their first home game on Tuesday. They beat the Predators, who are very bad, to win their first home game. They're also in the thick of things with the playoff hunt at this early in the year, and they are beating the Columbus Blue Jackets 1-0 in the midway-ish point of that game. But the Rangers have a lot of work to do. I mean, not having Chris Kreider and a couple of their other star players. I mean, Mika Zibanejad and also Artemi Panarin have not had their star power seasons that they had a couple years ago. And Igor Shesterkin has not been flawless this season. Like, he's had his ups and downs. At home, he's averaging like giving up 2.26 goals a game at home, and that has not been acceptable. So, while they can't perform at Madison Square Garden, that's a first step to getting some wins at home. I know we talked about the Rangers power play and how bad that was in a previous episode, but why are they so good on the road and not at home? Like, that's just baffling to me.
Yeah.
It's a tale. It's a tale that we're just trying to continue to solve as the season wears on. But yes, you get your wins where you can take them. But my other question is, why was Gabe Perreault in the AHL for that long to begin with when he should have made the opening night roster? He's too talented to be left at the Hartford Wolfpack.
Right.
Igor can't do everything on his own. And, of course, Mika Zibanejad needed to end his lengthy goal drought, which he did. But that doesn't make all of the problems go away because they're still under the most pressure to perform coming off of last year's disaster. We know the Rangers, they need to build off of last year with Mike Sullivan as the head coach now in place of Peter Laviolette. By goals per game, the defense could be improving, but goal scoring needs to be solved quick. And when goal scoring is not clicking, there's only so much that you could do, and that's going to spell certain doom. it's going to be top end players first that will need to be counted on. Of course, you think of Panarin, you think of Zibanejad, you think of JT Miller, who they got back from Vancouver this past January. Those guys come to mind for big time performances. You also need depth players to show up, and also some of the young guys like Noah Laba, one of their rookies, Perreault as well, as he was called up from Hartford.
Right.
And even the defense to take care of not allowing any more goals, because we know Adam Fox can't keep up. He's coming off last year's disappointment. This year, it's been a tad better, but if you're gonna be the number one defenseman on Team USA in the Olympics, you got to up your level play.
And I think another thing with the Rangers too is they're not aggressive when taking shots. I've seen a couple games where the Rangers were conservative, waiting too long to create a shot, and when they hold the puck, and they just don't find their shot and they don't create opportunities to score, that disappears very quickly, and other teams capitalize on that. I've seen that before. I saw it when I was at the Garden. I've seen it in other games this year. Why it happens at home, I have no idea. But the fact that, like, listen, they say winning on the road is tougher than winning at home. That's like the tale as old as time. That's why there's a thing called home field advantage. But I don't get why, when the game I was there, Sam Rosen was in the house. Henrik Lundqvist and all these Ranger legends were there. The only legend that was missing was Mark Messier. And pretty much the Rangers were just a shell of themselves, and they didn't perform up to their standard. Their power play is horrific. Let's get that out of the way. And I just don't understand, like, if this team wants to prove that they're a playoff team at this point in the year, they need to do better on a variety of verticals. And right now, they're just not.
It's tough.
Big time. And that's just the disappointment of it all. I mean, as a Rangers fan, like, we won the Stanley Cup, we won the President's Trophy a couple years ago. We're never doing that ever again. And I don't want to do that ever again. Because that's just the jinx. It's the jinx.
It is, really.
Like, it's a mental thing. It's really what it is. That's a mental thing, man. And it just, I could go on.
I kind of have this like theory, Matt, of why the Rangers do bad at home.
Sure.
I think it's because are they too pressured to like perform well better at home than on the road, where I feel like they have like they don't have to really worry about it because they don't really care like about other fans. I feel like they're putting too much pressure on themselves to perform better at home, and I think that's why they're not performing as well at home as opposed to we're on the road. That they like, oh, this is not our fans. We don't care about it. Just go out and play. I feel like they need to have a different mindset when it comes to playing at home, because when you're playing at home, hey, it's like, hey, we gotta show up tonight and we gotta win for our fans. Not like, if we don't win, like the pressure. Don't think of it as pressure.
No.
Think of it as like you're trying to win a game, regardless of if it's at home or away. And like I think that's probably what I'm thinking. It could be like just like it's just a thought. I'm just spitballing, but I'm thinking maybe that's the reason why. I'm not really too sure why, but that's the only thing I can think of.
Well, wait. Pressure to play in front of your home fans, that doesn't make any sense. If anything, you have more pressure playing on the road.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm saying like, oh, go ahead, Alec.
No, I was just saying it doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you feel more pressure at home than on the road?
That's what I'm trying to figure out too, because like I don't think I've seen a bigger discrepancy of a team that does so well on the road. They have the best road record in the NHL, but their home record was one of the worst, if not the worst. So I'm just trying to make sense of it. But I was just throwing an idea out there because I couldn't really tell you.
No, it's confusing. It's really, really confusing. So next up, we're going to go into the NBA for a little bit. We're going to talk about the in-season tournament, which I still have my not so satisfied take on. I mean, I'm not really too big with the NBA in-season tournament. Although I will say this, the NBA is apparently getting a lot of effort from their players through the in-season tournament, and you know what? I will give it that. It's an extra $700,000 for those who win, but to those who want to know the standings of the NBA Cup, Toronto is in first with a 2-0 record, followed by Cleveland and Atlanta at 1-1. Detroit and Orlando in Group B, they're both 2-0. Boston's 1-1, and then the Brooklyn Nets, who are just pitiful, and I don't want to watch them or call them my team ever again. And the Philadelphia Phillies are 0-2. The Bucks are 2-0 in East Group C. The Knicks are 1-1. So are the Bulls, the Heat, and the Charlotte Hornets are 0-2. In the West, Minnesota's 2-0 without Anthony Edwards, who's been in and out of the lineup with injuries. Oklahoma City's 1-0. So are Phoenix, Sacramento, and Utah are 0-2. LA Lakers and the Clippers are both 2-0 in their group in West Group B. The Pelicans are 0-2, and they also fired their coach earlier today. That was something that I wanted to touch on just very briefly, because that's where we're supposed to touch on everything here. We're going to touch on all the latest and greatest in the world of sports. I didn't really dig into this story, but I saw what happened. The Pelicans fired their head coach. Let me see the story here, if I can find it. Oh, I got it. Yeah, Willie Green, their head coach, he's gone, according to Shams. Had to be done. The Pelicans, they've kind of been irrelevant since trading Anthony Davis away, and they really haven't recovered. Also, the Zion Williamson thing never panned out. The Pelicans are just kind of a wasteland at this point. You know, you feel bad for guys like CJ McCollum and other players who are trying to give it their all, and they're not being awarded. And if anything, they're being awarded with a play-in tournament spot. It's been bad in New Orleans. Alec, you want to touch on this one?
It was not too long ago which the Pelicans were viewed as a sleeper team, but now this is a wasted window. Now that Willie Green has been fired, and now they're on the search for something new. But let's be real. The Pelicans are even more poorly managed as much as they are poorly coached. So much so that it's hard to imagine that everything is on Willie Green. Let's take a look at the roster mismanagement. Within the span of a year, they trade away Dyson Daniels, Larry Nance Jr., Brandon Ingram, and 3 first-round picks for DeJounte Murray and Derek Queen. They don't have their first-round pick in this upcoming draft, by the way, because that was the pick they traded to Atlanta to get DeJounte Murray. And injuries, they also matter. It's not just the ones that kept players out. And Zion Williamson was playing like a star when he got hurt into play-in against the Lakers, and he hasn't done much since. But and also take a look at the process to replace David Griffin. They hired Joe Dumars 3 days after they fired Griffin, and reports said that there was no formal interview process. A credible organization does a formal interview process. The fact that this took 3 days with no interview process to hire Dumars makes this such a bizarre hire now that we look back at this. Changing coaches is not going to fix an entire organization.
No.
Look at the Sacramento Kings. Mike Brown came in, won Coach of the Year, fired a year and a half later. The Kings are back at the abyss that they were before. The Pelicans, they're now back at the abyss that they were before. Organizational success starts at the very top. The best example, the Warriors.
100%. I mean, the Warriors have had their fair share of ups and downs over the last few years, but you know what? They've won an NBA title recently. And if you were to tell me that Steph Curry would be playing at the level he's playing all this time later, and just like the players they bring in, like they still have Steph and Draymond Green, but you know what? They get new depth. They get talented players, and it seems like they get hit after hit after hit in the draft. And I think that's the main reason why the Warriors are the standard bearer as to what a team should be. The Pelicans, they see trouble and they run for the hills and they just start over. And that's not how you run a franchise, is it, Kev?
No, absolutely not. And like you look at the Pelicans and their starting five, it's Looney, Jones, Murphy, Bay, and Fears. Like that doesn't really strike me as like a good team. I mean, like Trey Murphy the third is playing pretty good, and Sadiq Bay's looking pretty good. But then also like you don't have Brandon Ingram anymore. You traded him away, and I feel like he was kind of like the backbone for that Pelicans team for the longest time, and really like I kept them in games and possibly made them a playoff team. But now you take all your stars away that made you successful, and then you're seeing exactly the result that you're getting, a 2-9 record, and you just fired your head coach, Willie Green. I'm the same with Alec. I don't think all the blame falls on him. I think this was just something that the organization felt like they had to do to kind of like, start fresh and go try to look for a new coach and see maybe if his direction is going to be turning into a positive direction instead of Willie Green's. But like, I digress. Pelicans they need to be busy when it comes to like trying to score points. I mean, they did put up 117 against the Blazers, and that's not really it's not too bad, but it's also like you got to be getting the job done against teams like that, because Blazers, they're kind of in like a rebuild phase themselves as well. I mean, like they have new players that you haven't really seen step up, like Avdia and Shaden Sharp. But if you have Pelicans, you got to figure out a way to win games, and you got to figure out if you can try to make trades when the trade deadline comes, because right now it's just in free fall mode and rebuild mode.
John, besides changing rosters and changing coaches pretty consistently, what else has been the reason for the Pelicans' recent demise? John? Okay. I guess John is MIA, but we'll definitely figure out. We'll come back to him. We actually have 14 minutes before we get into our first break with the DAS. But I actually want to get into a story, and we're going to touch on NFL now. And I think this is appropriate because I got to get my Giant hat on. I feel so happy right now, and there's a reason why. Ooh! In Big Blue, it's happened. Brian Daboll was fired as head coach of the New York Giants after 3+ seasons with the team. Won Coach of the Year his first year in 2022. The Giants won a playoff game. Daniel Jones looked excellent. Didn't really turn the football over. Saquon ran wild against the Viking defense in the wild card. Defense was pretty solid. Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon Thibodeau made their names. But ever since then, it's been a downward spiral with injuries, inconsistency, incompetence, and just pure stupidity. And the problem with the New York Giants is they just don't have a backbone anymore. And we saw 4 losses in the fourth quarter or later in the fourth quarter where the Giants should have won games like that. The Bears game was the final straw for Brian Daboll. Really, Shane Bowen should have been fired as well, but unfortunately, there had to be one fall guy, and it had to be Brian Daboll. Kevin, I know you're a Giants fan like me. I mean, this had to be done.
Yeah, it had to be done, man. I mean, like, I don't think you can put all the blame on Daboll, because I'll go on like a mini rant for a second. Why the heck is Brian Daboll fired, but not Shane Bowen with him? Shane Bowen, I think, has been responsible for more losses than Brian Daboll, in my personal opinion, because you can't be blowing leads like 19-0 against the Broncos, losing that game, and then you're up against the Bears. You have a big lead, you lose that game. And then against the Saints, that was more on the turnovers, so I'll give him a little bit of grace there. But the game against the Cowboys, the Russell Wilson legacy game, lose the game, unacceptable. And then the defense is going off the rails with all these defensive schemes. He continues to drop 8 almost every time. Why? Dropping 8. Have you not learned from your own mistakes? That has not worked, and that's not a proper defensive scheme. Now, I get that it does fall some sort of way on the players, because we've had defensive players this season who have not been good. Deonte Banks, for most of the season, has not been good. Tyler Newman's been trash. Drew Phillips, despite all this, he's been really good. Cordell Flaw's been really good, but he's now hurt. And then you have the new acquisitions that we spent big money on, Paulson Adebo and Javon Holland. They've not been good. I'm sorry, they've not been good, and that's why I think if the Giants do like tank and get like a top 3 pick, I think they should go for Caleb Downs, who I think is going to be the top safety in the draft, and that way it could like fix our safety core. And it's such a shame, man, because like with the Malik Neighbors injury and the Cam Scadaboo injury, and with how good Jackson Dart is and proving that we did pick the right guy and that he's going to be the future quarterback. It's just such a shame, and like the fact that he's hurt with a concussion. Jameis Winston is going to be the starter. Thank goodness, because I think that Jameis Winston definitely deserves some starts, because Russell Wilson, like, I don't feel so. People were saying like, oh, what an insult to Russ. I'm like, I don't think he should feel insulted. I don't feel sorry for Russ, because he's got plenty of chances to start, and like he got in there whenever Dart did get hurt. And he played terrible. He's past his prime, and he knew what he was getting into when he signed this 1-year deal here. He knew that his time wasn't going to be long. And Jameis Winston, we signed it for 2 years. So that's why the expectation is Jameis Winston is going to be the backup for Dart, of course, the rest of this year and next year. So if I were the Giants, I wouldn't even start Dart for the rest of the year. Let him get healthy. Do not ruin him. We're not going to the playoffs anyway. We didn't make a trade or acquisition or get any sort of draft capital to help the team out anyway. So start Jameis Winston. It'll be fun for a little bit. At least you'll get to see some, Jameis Winston play. And you see some other guys, getting called up. I know Dalen Cambry just got called up from the practice squad, so maybe he'll do something. But like stuff like that, man, it's just like I'm just so disappointed that Shane Bowen still has a job here because I think that is disgraceful. But I think it's also a cool thing that Mike Kafka stays because like that's kind of what we predicted that Mike Kafka deserves to stay.
We did, yeah.
Because I think that he has done a great job as the OC of this team, and now we're going to see what his vision is and how he leads this team. Despite with all of like the injuries that we have, Evan Neal is now gone on the IR. Graham Gano is hurt. Another thing, by the way, can we just cut Graham Gano, please?
Yeah.
Like, how are you a kicker and you injure your neck? How is that possible? And he's still with injuries. He's an old man at this point. I mean, like, just let him go somewhere else. Seriously. Younghoe Koo has only played for one game and he hit every extra point and every field goal. Just let him ride with him the rest of the season. Okay? So, like, get rid of him. And, like, by the end of the season, like, Shane Bowen needs to be fired. And the head coaching search now starts. And, of course, people are saying it's like a coveted position to have. And, like, I wouldn't blame them because we know that Bill Belichick is not going to be searching for a coaching job anytime soon in the NFL.
No, he's not.
Nor would I want him there. I would like more of the sense I've heard like names thrown around, like John Gruden, Antonio Pierce, Lane Kiffin, Steve Spagnuolo, all those guys. And I wouldn't be opposed to either one. The question is they got to make this the right guy. Same way with how they drafted Dart and made him the right guy. Because if you don't get the right guy, then you know what's going to happen. In 2 years, both that new coach and Joe Shane are going to be fired because it's a consistent trend. Whenever a head coach gets fired, the GM gets fired or the GM finds a new head coach, and then both of them get fired 2 years later. So someone's got to give.
Another name that you didn't mention that is in the head coaching radar is Mike McCarthy, former Cowboys head coach and former Packers head coach. He's also on the radar for the Giants in their coaching chart, but I don't want him either, and I think you don't want him as well.
Don't want him.
One name that has come up a lot, you mentioned John Gruden. The last time we saw John Gruden, he did get blackballed a little bit by the NFL with the emails between him and Dan Snyder, former Commanders owner. But I think enough time has passed where I think we could bring him back or at least give him a shot to interview for a head coaching job. I know it seems a little risky, and I know Steve Spagnuolo's name was mentioned. He's a great defensive coordinator. He was a former defensive coordinator for the Giants when they won those 2 Super Bowls against the Patriots, so I think that's a good spot for him. Like I said, I'd fire Shane Bowen in a heartbeat, and I'd put Spags in at DC. Will that ever happen? I have no idea. It really depends on what John Mara and Steve Tisch want to do, although Joe Shane's involved in the process. Alec, I mentioned John Gruden, and immediately you started questioning. What's on your mind?
Are you sure that he will be the right hire for the Giants? Because this isn't the early 2000s, because times change in the NFL. And even for all the off-field controversies, are you sure that you want someone who has an early 2000s mentality in the big 2026? Are you sure?
I mean, that's just names that are being thrown out there. I mean, like, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but also I wouldn't be, like, the most thrilled,
Yeah, I wouldn't be thrilled either way about the hire of John Gruden because it's just a bunch of question marks,
I get that 100%. I mean, listen, the controversy surrounding the emails with Dan Snyder, I definitely think was a red flag, and that's why the Raiders got rid of him. But you can't go wrong with a guy who was a big TV personality, former Monday Night Football broadcaster, loves working with quarterbacks, had Gruden's quarterback camp at once upon a time. So I guess the ties are there. But the controversy, I guess, is one reason why you kind of lean away from him. But I get your point. Now, we do have a few more minutes before we get into the first commercial break. Pop quiz for Alec. Brian Daboll was only the second Giants head coach to be fired during the season. Who was the first?
I have no idea.
Does the name
Wait,
Ben
wait,
McAdoo ring a
wait.
bell?
Oh, wait a minute. Just as you were speaking him into existence, you were
Yeah.
speaking Ben McAdoo into existence.
Great minds think alike, huh?
Oh my goodness. Just as you were speaking into existence, we just spoke at the same time. Well, go join Nico Harrison over the unemployment corridor.
Oh yeah, we can touch on Nico Harrison for just a split second. Adios.
Bye-bye.
Don't hit you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Hope it was worth it. Hope the first pick was worth it.
In the words of Damon Wayans on My Wife and Kids, so long, see you sucker, bon voyage, arrivederci, later loser, goodbye, good riddance, peace out, don't come back around here no more, don't let the door hit you with the good Lord, don't split you, hasta la vista, baby, kick rocks and get the hell out.
Wow, that was a lot to memorize. Congratulations, bravo.
Oh my goodness. Well, nice work. You trade away your franchise player, and all you get is a raw project in the form of Cooper Flagg. And I hope that was worth it. Not passing up on 5 first-round picks, but and yes, you got your wish in Anthony Davis. You got 1 first-round pick. Where are the other 4? Where are the other 4 first-round picks? You had a solid reputation with you. Kyrie, Gafford, Washington, Lively, Marshall, Clay. Chuck it out the window.
Seriously.
Chuck it right out the window with that 1 trade. And I didn't even get to Quentin Grimes, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Which Cougar?
Yeah, that trade aged just as poorly as the Luka trade because Caleb Martin has not even come close to panning out with Dallas. And don't even leave Patrick Dumont out of this Mavs team governor because he also gave approval on the Luka trade. And yes, in the letter that he sent out to Mavs fans about firing Nico, well, I know he didn't mention Luka once, but that's damned if you do, damned if you don't. But also at the same time, when you make a move like that, you're going to alienate your fan base and even former players of your team. But what alarmed a certain former player, of course, I'm going to bring up Dirk Nowitzki, is when Casey Smith, who was the team's performance director of 21 years on the team, was fired while taking care of his gravely ill mother.
Yeah, that's despicable.
It is. Some employees thought that Nico was firing other team employees because they were enablers of Luka Doncic. Another employee thought that Nico feared Smith's influence within the organization. Of course, this move was warranted because it felt like Nico was trying to make it his team, his vision. Like he's just a power-hungry egomaniac. What are you doing?
That perfectly sums it up.
Investigate him. I'm not even kidding. Investigate him.
Yeah. No, 100%. As soon as he traded away Luka Doncic, that raised more questions than answers.
Absolutely.
100%.
Oh, my God. Well, we got a lot more football to get into. Before we get into more football, we got to give a shout out to our sponsor, DAS Technology Consulting. DAS Technology Consulting sells data center services, including your IT infrastructure needs, third-party maintenance, and OEMs. And if you want to know more about DAS Technology Consulting and what over 30 years of technology experience brings, here's the Chief Sales Officer, Darren Sirianni.
Our approach at DAS Technology is simple. At DAS Technology, we offer a very unique approach by providing our clients a single point of contact for all their mission-critical data center demands. DAS Technology Consulting is a global leader in data center services, specializing in delivering cutting-edge, best-of-breed enterprise solutions. With a focus on innovation and reliability, DAS provides worldwide storage, server, and networking solutions that are tailored to meet the evolving demands of the modern data-driven world.
Thank you, DAS Technology Consulting, for everything you do and sponsoring the show. We greatly appreciate it. Welcome to hour number 2. We got a whole bunch of football to get into. Matt Sirianni, Alec Nava, Kevin Zellers, John Welch was with us for the first hour, but he's got a lot on his plate. We're gonna hold the fort down like we always do, us three. And we got a lot of football to get into. Now, we did mention the Brian Daboll stuff. We're going to get into other football-related topics, and this also involves New York football as well. The New York Jets, before Thursday Night Football, won back-to-back games against Ohio teams. They beat the Bengals. They beat the Browns. They are 2-8, and I put 2-8 in the agenda before the Thursday game even happened. You want to know why? Because I'm a psychic, and I knew the Patriots were going to beat the Jets. I just knew it. And they covered. But that could be something that I think could be a little bit of a mistake for the New York Jets, because a team that is quarterback depleted, you have Justin Fields as your starter. I mean, he's more of a bridge guy. You need a long-term solution in New York, and I don't think Justin Fields is going to get the job done for you. So, in a sense, I know my cousin Ryan loves the word tanking. But in the case with the New York Jets, they don't know how to tank, according to my cousin. I'm going to come to you. So, winning back-to-back games against Ohio teams, albeit they're both bad, do you think this is helpful or hurtful long-term for the New York Jets?
Let's put it this way. I don't think a quarterback is going to be taken first overall in this upcoming draft, because quarterback play has become the most volatile that we've ever seen, both NFL and NCAA. And Fields, he's played more like a running back than a quarterback. He's had 2.5 as many times passing yards as Wisconsin's punter last week.
Wow.
In a true sense of irony, both Wisconsin and the Jets won their respective games. Yeah, the Browns, they're the Browns. They can't generate offense to save their own lives. The Bengals, their defense is bad, and they can't get a stop to save their own lives. The Jets aren't even making plays, and Justin Fields is constantly at the bottom of the NFL's QB index because, yes, he's played like a running back more than a quarterback, and ball security still remains a huge question mark for him. Tyrod Taylor should not be your season-long starter. He's more of a backup. And the answer for the Jets' quarterback woes is a few years away. We don't know if it's going to be this year or maybe we don't know if it's this upcoming draft or maybe the next draft that's going to come. But, it's too early to tell if winning back-to-back games is a mistake or not, because I'm not sure how the quarterback draft is going to go. It's really that volatile, and there's really not a consensus number one among quarterbacks.
So you wouldn't even put Fernando Mendoza in that number one pick spot?
Well, I'll say he is in that sense, but in terms of how quarterbacks are among everyone else, having Fernando Mendoza as the top quarterback in this draft isn't really saying much for NFL teams.
Fair. I guess you could say that's fair. Right now, if we go to the Tankathon website, which my cousin Ryan showed me, I can't believe he's actually that into tanking that he's looking at websites for it. The Tennessee Titans right now have the number one pick in the draft, and they already got their quarterback. Honestly, I think if the Tennessee Titans do end up with the worst record in football again, and they get the number one pick again, given what Alec just said, I'd probably keep the number one pick and maybe go with the defensive prospect, because the Titans' defense is bad in its own right. I mean, listen, their offense is pitiful. Don't get me wrong. Cam Ward has been awful, to say the least. But that team needs help in a variety of ways. And even though you don't need a quarterback, the number one pick in the draft can't hurt you. Kev, would you agree?
Absolutely. I feel like if I'm the Titans, I'm definitely more open to it this time around than, of course, last year, where Cam Ward was the consensus number one overall pick. And it's nothing really against Cam Ward. I feel like he's been hit or miss pretty much. But it's not all him. It's the entire Tennessee Titans organization has been a complete dumpster fire. I mean, you knew that Brian Callahan wasn't going to pan out as a head coach, and they fired him real quickly. And so that the head coaching of position for there is also open. And also, the Titans are just – I said that they were the worst team in the NFL for a reason, because at least the Jets, they had some talent, but they traded their two best defensive players away. So really the only – and Garrett Wilson's now hurt. So really the only guy that's really doing anything offensively for you is Breece Hall. And I guess to some extent, Adonai Mitchell, who you got in the Sauce Gardner trade. But with the Titans, they really have no talent on that team, any prominent talent that you could say, oh, yeah, this guy is going to be – is the best Titans player. You really don't have that because, like, I mean, you had Tyler Lockett, barely used him, traded away to the Raiders. You have Tony Pollard, who you only got him because he was really good when he was the Cowboys, not so much here at Tennessee. You have Calvin Ridley, has barely done anything with Tennessee. Like, who is the best player on the Tennessee Titans? Seriously. Like, I can't even tell you, like, is their best player DK? Is their best player Westbrook Akine? Like, who's their best player? Okonkwo? I don't even know. So, like,
nobody knows.
See, that's the thing. So, like, I don't even think like a head coaching thing would fix it. I don't think that even a quarterback would fix it. So, if I'm them, I put the smart money on trading the first overall pick away and trying to get a better defensive prospect in there because you need more than just quarterback right now.
Oh, you need everything. You need everything. I'll never forget when Ritos in our fantasy league was starting 2 Tennessee Titan wide receivers. And at that point, I just kind of laughed. Because it's that bad.
It has been, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, who is Elik Ayomanor?
Oh, my
Ayomanor, yeah. There we go. That's another one.
I mean, well, now we know who he is. They're wide receiver 2.
Mm-hmm. Not even their best wide receiver.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my. That's how pitiful they are.
Just so bad. Just so bad and embarrassing.
As soon as Derrick Henry left, the whole team died.
Oh, they fell apart. They fell apart.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Anyway, you mentioned Tony Pollard, being a has-been with the Cowboys and then coming to Tennessee and being a shell of himself. Same happened with DeMarco Murray once upon a time. Successful running back with the Dallas Cowboys, comes to Tennessee, career dies. But another running back that I want to get into, and this is also within the AFC South Conference, is Jonathan Taylor, who Kevin has in our fantasy league. Even though Jonathan Taylor has the 3rd highest betting odds to win NFL MVP behind Drake May and Matthew Stafford, I continue to believe that a running back should be NFL MVP this year. Now, the only reason why people would disagree with me on this is because Saquon Barkley had a chance to break the Eric Dickerson rushing record in a single season, and he didn't because the Eagles didn't want him to break the record because Eric Dickerson said, I'd rather die than have Saquon break my record. Why? Because the 17-game season, which still sucky to say, but whatever. But the last time a running back won the NFL MVP award was Adrian Peterson back in 2012 when he almost broke Eric Dickerson's rushing record by 9 yards. What am I trying to say? That the V in valuable in MVP. The MVP should be the player that carries the best team, that is the biggest asset and biggest contributor to a team. Colts are one of the best teams in football, and they would not be like that without Jonathan Taylor. As good of a season as Daniel Jones is having, and I respect how good he's been playing, it's Jonathan Taylor all the way. And that statement is echoed when Jonathan Taylor ran for 244 yards and 3 touchdowns in London against the Falcons.
I thought it was Berlin.
Oh, Berlin, excuse me.
Berlin, yeah.
In Berlin against the Falcons. And I'm very, very adamant that even though Drake May and Matthew Stafford are having good seasons, they're not mind-blowing this season by any means. And I know we've gotten into it with a couple of our friends in Discord, basically, when they say, oh, running backs are not required to have NFL MVP. To that I say, eat a banana and calm down. Because right now, you got to look at reality. Jonathan Taylor has been the best player across the entire NFL, and I think he should be acknowledged for that, and I think he should be awarded for it.
Yeah, I argued that Christian McCaffrey should have won MVP in 2023 over Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, well, 100%. Yeah, that's a good point. Christian McCaffrey was unstoppable in 2023. And like I said, Saquon could have easily won MVP last year if the NFL wasn't quarterback-driven and quarterback-friendly, and it's supposed to be a quarterback award. That's why I'm not really big with the MVP award going to quarterbacks, because while it's the most valued position in the NFL, it doesn't necessarily mean the quarterback is the best overall in the NFL season. If Kevin gets my drift.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, like you mentioned the quarterback and the MVP of them all. Heck, Josh Allen, when he won it last year, he wasn't even the best quarterback in terms of stats. It was Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson didn't even win when he had the better stats. So, and like I agree with you, Jonathan Taylor is by far the MVP in my eyes. Like, the MVP doesn't always have to go to a quarterback in my eyes, because I think Jonathan Taylor is the main reason why the Colts have been successful this year. I know, like, Daniel Jones has been good this year. He's resurged in a new system, a new team. I know Michael Pittman has been really good. Tyler Warren has been a star rookie tight end, but Jonathan Taylor, every single game, he just is a massive workhorse, and he continues to make this Colts team relevant, especially this year when they're now sitting at atop of the AFC. I get the reasons for Matthew Stafford and Drake May. Don't get me wrong. Drake May and Matthew Stafford have both played amazing for their respective teams. But Jonathan Taylor is in a world of his own. In a league this year where, like, all the superstars are getting hurt, Jonathan Taylor is healthy, and he's been consistently putting up these kinds of numbers every single game. Like, I don't get why, like, we're just gonna say that, like, running backs like him are dismissed from the MVP, because I think that's just outright wrong. Like, I think he's the clear MVP in my eyes. But I could also see maybe like Devon Achane thrown in there if we're talking running backs, because he's been really good as well. But
He has.
Jonathan Taylor, I think, is in a league of his own right now.
Yeah,
I
easy-
agree. Go ahead, Al.
Easily in a league of its own.
And I think one thing that I think would probably get Jonathan Taylor that award is if he were to break Eric Dickerson's rushing record. And why am I bringing this up? Because that rushing record has stood since 1984. Adrian Peterson almost broke it back in 2012. And if you look at where Jonathan Taylor is right now compared to other running backs, he's at 1,139 yards through 10 games. The second closest, James Cook with 920, over 200 yards in front of James Cook. That's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to play a little game called higher or lower here. And what this is it's a Jonathan Taylor higher or lower. And what we're going to do is we're going to go over the Colts' final 7 games and see if Jonathan Taylor can go above or below 138 rushing yards. Why am I saying 138? Because 138 times 7 would be just enough to give Jonathan Taylor over 2,105 rushing yards. And I think that would be enough to break him, to give that NFL record that he so richly deserves. So we're going to go game by game, higher or lower than 138. The Colts are on a bye this week, so they're not playing, but they return next week in Arrowhead against the Kansas City Chiefs. Kevin and Alec, higher or lower 138 rushing yards for Jonathan Taylor in Kansas City?
I think lower.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat, lower.
Yeah, I'm on that same boat as well. The Chiefs have a really good defense, and they're on the come up in that department.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, higher or lower the following week, in week 13, higher or lower at home against the Texans?
Higher.
Again, lower. Houston, it has one of the most underrated defenses in the league.
I'm gonna say a little bit higher than 138. Even though Houston's is doing good defensively, I think Jonathan Taylor will just be better. Will just play really good that day. All right. Then the game of all games for the Colts in Jacksonville, week 14, higher or lower than 138?
I'll say a tad lower on this one.
I'm going the opposite way, higher.
Now, the reason why I mention this is because the Colts haven't won in Jacksonville in a decade. And this is their kryptonite game. But I'm going to say higher as well. I think it's time that the Colts actually win in Jacksonville. Next up, higher or lower 138 in Seattle?
Seattle lower.
Well, yeah, Seattle is one of the best, if not arguably the best team in the NFC, and that's how wonky the season has been. So lower.
Lower. Okay. Higher or lower 138 at home against San Francisco in week 16?
Lower.
Let me throw a curveball. Exact.
Exact.
Okay.
Ooh. I'm gonna say higher. Higher or lower 138 week 17 at home against Jacksonville?
That's higher.
Higher.
Higher. Undisputed higher. And then a higher or lower 138 in Houston to finish the regular season?
Higher.
Higher.
That depends. If the Colts are in a position for a first round bye, that really depends if he plays or not. But let's assume he does.
True, yeah.
Higher.
Right. That's a good point. Okay. Now we're gonna do a little bit of Foursquare fantasy talk because we haven't done that in a little bit, and we're coming to that playoff push now. So, oh my god, I'm playing Lily this week. I'm an 18-point underdog. I got a lot of work to do this week, and if Lily actually, this is big for John. If Lily beats me and John wins against Motor City Kitties, I fall to the 3 seed. I haven't been lower than 2 this entire season.
Must be nice.
Oh God. We're gonna go over right now. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go over our lineups for week 11. I can't believe we're week 11 already. This is nuts. For firmly grasp it, I got Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Rashad White, Puka Nacua, Labakaki, Jake Ferguson, Javonte Williams, Ravens defense, and Brandon Aubrey. I'm going against Jalen Hurts, Bijan, Josh Jacobs, Drake London, Jackson Smith and Jigba, O'Donnell Gadsden, Kyron Williams, Broncos D, Matt Prater. Lord, help me. Just help me. Alec is the blue blurs, although I do gotta give my man Alec a little bit of advice. His lineup is Drake May, James Cook, Jalen Warren, CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Sam Laporta, who has to go to IR, Ashton JT Packers D, Chris Boswell.
Just move Dallas Goedert to the starting lineup, by the way.
Oh, perfect. And then you're going against Ritos, who got 9 points from Andy Borregales, but you got Caleb Williams, Tyrone Tracy, Quinshawn Judkins, Jamar Chase, Jordan Addison, Brock Bowers, who could be a problem, Rashid Shaheed, and the Cowboys D. And the Devils and Kappas have tied it. And Kevin says SMFH. I'm not going to say what that stands for, but. And then we got Bama Girl Underdog taking on the Hash Slinging Slashers. Kevin's got Patrick Mahomes, Kamani Vidal, RJ Harvey, who's the new starting back for the Broncos now that J.K. Dobbins is hurt, Justin Jefferson, Rashee Rice, George Kittle, T. Higgins, Texans D, and Cam Little. All 3 of his Colts are on buys.
Yeah, I picked up Kittle and Higgins because of those buys. And I'm kind of getting a little bit creative with my running back room because, again, with Jonathan Taylor on the bye and with J.K. Dobbins getting hurt, I feel like Harvey was an easy waiver wire pickup. And then Vidal, I mean, like I think this is probably the last week or two that you're going to get real use out of him in fantasy because I think Hampton's supposed to return in like a few weeks. So that's my like final play there for running backs as far as I'm concerned. So yeah.
All right, that's a fair point. I mean, Omarion Hampton is probably like, yeah, we haven't seen him since week 3. It's been since week 3 since we saw Omarion Hampton. He's figured he's due to come back after 2 months.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going against Matthew Stafford, Chase Brown, Willie Marks, Jalen Waddle, Jawan Jennings, Theo Johnson, Deebo Samuel, Chargers D, Chase McLaughlin. Now, to go over the standings of Foursquare Fantasy, Lily's the number 1 seed. Love Shack is a little place where people get crushed. Firmly Grasp It is number 2. Greener Gridiron Grinder is number 3. Hashling Slashes is 4. Frustratingly, because Kevin has left some games on the table. Motor City Kitties is 5. Blue Blurs, Alec is 6. Ritos is 7. Bama Girl Underdog is 8. Let me just put it this way for fantasy purposes. Motor City Kitties is on the come up, and all I'm going to say right now is if Kevin loses to Bama Girl Underdog, he might drop to 5. And I think that's the last thing Kevin wants to think.
Hopefully that won't happen. Hopefully that won't happen. We'll see what happens.
All I'm hoping for this week is if my guys overperform and Lily's guys underperform. Because then I can really firmly grasp with that top 2 seed.
My only hope is that, again, if both Sean Payton and Kevin O'Connell aren't terrorists this week, because I have Harvey and Jefferson. So Jefferson is still, I mean, they got him the ball last week in the end zone. Hooray. And then Harvey, like, now you're forced to play him because Dobbins is out. Do not put the other running back there, Beatty, in, or I'm going to be pissed. Just play Harvey. For the love of God.
Can you imagine if Sean Payton pulls a 180 and said, okay, RJ Harvey, I'm just going to use you for first and second down, and then we'll get big plays on third down?
Then I drop him after that week. That's what happened.
Oh, man. All right. Fantasy is literally the most agonizing and amazing thing at the same time.
No kidding.
Anyway, we are going to get into one of my favorite segments on the show. We're going to go into Fresh Spread, idealized by Talercios, who we hope to sponsor our show eventually. Fresh Spreads. Let's build it. So, we're going to pick all the games based on the spreads. This is how we typically do it. It is week 11. Amazingly, again, time's going by way too quick. Before we go into the games, the Colts and Saints are on a bye, and the Jets and Patriots played on Thursday. Patriots won 27-14, barely covering a 12.5-point spread. Anyway, we're going to get right into it right now. We're going to start off with a Berlin game, the last international game of the year. Commanders at the Dolphins. Dolphins favored by 2.5. We're going to start off with Alec.
Yo pienso que este juego es en Madrid.
It's in Madrid, isn't it?
Sí es en Madrid.
Oh my God.
Noted.
No,
¿Dónde
hablo
se fue?
español.
¿Dónde se fue el tiempo? ¿Dónde? Pues,
In Madrid. All right, so higher or lower than 2.5 points?
Yo no sé, pero esos comandos no se ven tan bien sin Jaden Daniels, pero los Delfines se van a ganar.
Okay, I'm going to take that into translation. Alec is going Dolphins minus 2.5.
Sí, correcto.
I can translate Spanish. Kevin?
I took some Spanish classes too in my time, but I don't know. It's kind of interesting because with the Dolphins, I would think the same old. HN and Waddle would be the bulk of the offense. Commanders, again, Jane Daniels hurt, and with the uncertainty about their team as a whole this season, I think I might have to go Dolphins too, just barely covering.
I'm going to say the Miami Dolphins win by 3, so they barely cover. Now we're going to go to the 1 o'clock slate. We're going to go to the Carolina Panthers at the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons favored by 3.5 at home. Alec?
Well, that was the only time I had to use Spanish, really, because now that we're back in the States, well, I hope I can use this again for any future games in Spanish-speaking countries. Mexico games. Well, I think Atlanta has to be pissed off from the earlier shutout loss to Carolina.
Yeah.
The Falcons are that team in which we don't know who they really are. And neither are the Panthers. These two teams, we don't know who they really are. The Panthers, despite the 5-5 record, are more friskier than the record suggests. The Falcons, they have talent with them and a better pass rush than people take into account for. But you never know with divisional games. I'm going to say Falcons here, but this is just a match full of chaos that we don't know what's going to happen.
Okay. Kev?
Yeah, give me the Falcons too in a close one. I say they win, but they don't cover.
I'm going to say the Falcons win by 3, so they just miss out on covering. Although Bryce Young does play very well against Atlanta. I will say that. Next up, we're going to go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Buffalo. Buffalo minus 6. There will be snow. Alec.
I was about to say the upset until you mentioned the snow. I was just about to say a Buccaneers until you mentioned the snow, because now the question is, how prepared are the Buccaneers for the snow? We know Buffalo can play snow games, and it's been well noted about their ability to last in the cold. And after last week, we know about some teams they can play in cold climates, but can't play in warm climates. Buffalo can play in a cold climate, but you know what? I might just shift back to the Bills, especially after last week's disaster against Miami. And
Yeah.
they need to get a bounce back in any way possible. I see them winning, but they're not covering.
Okay, Kev.
Yeah, yeah, I'm the same way. Like you mentioned, it's a good point you mentioned with the snow and the environment that the Bills can play in. I think the Bills do win this one. I say they barely cover, but I do think the Bucks do make it a closer game, despite the fact that they're not going to have Bucky Irving and they're going to have mostly Rashad White and Sean Tucker carrying it. So I'll say Bills too.
I'll say the Bills cover because they play well in snow better than any team in football. And I think that the Buccaneers, being a Florida team, they love the sun. Florida teams don't play well in the snow. So I'm going to take the Bills to cover easily. Next up, we got the Texans at the Titans. Texans -6. Alec?
Well, I would say this is a win by default, but tell that to the Cardinals. Well, I'm going to say Texans here on this one because the Titans are, the less said about them, the better. It's that bad of a season for them. Just get them an entire coaching staff, a competent coaching staff to save Cam Ward and some more talent around him. Please. It'll serve Tennessee better.
Okay. Kev?
Texans win, easily cover.
Texans win, easily cover as well. All right, next up, we got the Green Bay Packers at the New York Giants. Packers favored by 7. Alec?
Get the substitute teacher back on the kicking display. Brandon McManus doesn't have it in him anymore. The substitute teacher can kick field goals. The Packers should bounce back from the many swings and misses in which they've shown themselves as a frisky team. Just what kind of team are they? We crowned this team too early. There's no secret about that. But it's like the Packers are playing good cop, bad cop. This team is literally good cop, bad cop. Well, I'll say they win, but the Giants will keep it close ideally because let's take it to it, the interim coach factor. Because with a team just firing their coach, getting into an interim coach,
right?
Usually that means it's going to be a tight game. So this is going to be a trap game for the Packers despite the 7-point spread. They're not covering that.
Okay, no -7. Kev?
Giants keeping it a close game. I've heard that before. Have you met Shane Bowen?
Yes.
Packers win and easily cover.
Packers win and easily cover as well. The Giants' defense is doo-doo, and Shane Bowen's running the helm. And also, famous Jameis is probably going to turn the ball over 2 or 3 times.
He's going to have 6 touchdowns and 5 interceptions.
I'm calling it right now. The Packers defense though.
Don't you put that evil on us, Ricky Bobby.
All right, next up, we got the Bears at the Vikings. Vikings surprisingly favored by 2.5 in this one. Alec?
Well, given it's a Vikings home game, anything can happen. It's even though the 2.5-point spread favors the Vikings at first, this is more of a pick'em game. So it's not really that much of an upset if anyone picks the Bears. But the Vikings, they can send the blitz after Caleb Williams, and if Caleb's not careful, then it might be that kind of day for him. But with time, Caleb may be progressing as a passer. But we have to see how much he has progressed, or if it's just a product of bad defenses. Cincinnati. For the moment, I'm taking the Vikings, but I'm gonna keep this game on close watch. Vikings win and cover, but I'm not gonna count out the Bears in this one.
All right, Kev.
I have no idea why the spread is that low. I think it should be higher, but for the Bears, I think Bears should win and they should easily cover this. For the Vikings, J.J. McCarthy is probably the most overhyped, overrated national championship winning quarterback I've ever seen in my life because he has been garbage. Good offensive line or not, he is not the best quarterback that this Vikings team can produce. Even Carson Wentz, I felt like was playing better, like in the short time that he had when McCarthy was hurt. I think he's been playing better. But Vikings, if I'm then, I would get on the Titans phone and see if they can trade the number 1 pick with them and get a quarterback because their quarterbacks are garbage. Bears, I think, win easily. I think they win by 10 points.
I think the Bears. I'm taking the win too. I'm taking the Bears plus 2.5. I think they win outright because Caleb Williams has been playing very well, and I think Ben Johnson has been a saving grace so far this season for him. And we might see the first Bears QB throw for 4,000 yards, something that a Bears quarterback has never, ever, 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 ever done in over 100 years of Bears football. So this is pretty historic. Next up, we got the Cincinnati Bengals at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh favored by 5.5. Joe Burrow is week to week and working his way back as we speak. Alec?
Well, for the moment, we're going to have Joe Flacco as a starter, which, in fairness, is the right call because Flacco knows the Steelers like an open book. We know him like an open book, too, based on the many meetings that the Steelers have had up against him. That dates back all the way to when he was the Raven up against Ben Roethlisberger. That's how long he's known the Steelers.
Yep.
And this time it's at home. Ideally, it's going to be an even split between these two teams. Flacco takes one. All right, that's fair enough. And on a game-winning drive, fair enough. The moment that it went up with 2 minutes to go in the game at Cincinnati on Thursday Night Football, I knew we left too much time on the board for a game-winning drive because our defense isn't exactly all set in stone and paper. It's not really looking in high, but also the lowest of lows aren't even as low as some of the bad defenses like Cincinnati's defense. Oof. The only other defense I can think of that's worse is the Cowboys' defense.
Right.
Oof, my own. And that have it here in Pittsburgh, it should be an even slate between us just to make the count even. I'd like to see this. Give me the Steelers to win this one. But best case scenario is we win this one. I don't think we cover, but at the very least, I want to see a bounce back victory. So as to get wash off all the bad from last week against the Chargers. That was horrible. We need to see improvements from this. Come on.
And the Packer game the week before that. Kev?
I think this is quite possibly a trap game for the Steelers. I think the Bengals are going to make it really close because we've known the history between Flacco back when he was a Raven, just like Alex said, against this Steelers team. And then you have the 2 old guys. You have Joe Flacco and you have Aaron Rodgers. And I think Joe Flacco, he's resurged himself. Consistently, he's resurged himself with different teams. But I think this version of him now, from going from the Browns this season to the Bengals, I think he makes this game closer than what the spread indicates. But I do think that the Steelers still win in the end, but I think just barely. I think they only win by 3 points.
Good thinking.
I think the Steelers can win by 3 as well. I think the Bengals play tough, but they ultimately lose if the Pittsburgh Steelers don't cover.
Good thinking, Kev. I'm pointing this out as a trap game because that's what I was alluding to. This screams trap game.
Yeah, very well could be a trap game. Next up, we got the Chargers at the Jaguars. Chargers favored by 3. No Travis Hunter for the rest of the year as he's getting knee surgery. Alec?
Ooh, a major loss for the Chargers. It makes the Jacoby Myers trade a necessity now for the Jaguars. If Parker Washington having questions, and he's emerging into the Jaguars' plans as a wide receiver 3 and as their primary returner, Jacksonville is an interesting team. They're both really good and really bad at the same time. If you watch them play, they're both awfully good and amazingly bad. All in one team. There's just no in between with this squad. The Chargers, they're a team that's taking way too many hits on the offensive line. Way too many hits. They just lost Joe Alt for the year. And without Rashawn Slater with them, how many more hits on the O-line can one team take? How many more hits can Justin Herbert take? I see the Chargers winning this one, but can this winning be sustainable?
All right, Kev.
I think you can argue this one as a trap game as well for the Chargers because I think this Jaguars team, like we said, we kind of don't really know if this team is good or not. They've been really good at times and really bad at times. But then you've also seen this Jaguars team put up some of the games that they've been having, and I think this is probably a good thing for them. Is expect the unexpected with this team, And they listed the Chargers, even though it's a road game for them, they've listed them as a 3-point favorite. I do think that the Chargers barely cover that, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Jaguars do make it a close game. So give me Chargers.
I mean, the Jaguars are competitive, but losing Travis Hunter is definitely going to be a big blow. I think the Chargers win and cover. Next up, we got a really interesting one to start the 4 o'clock slate. We got the Seattle Seahawks at the Los Angeles Rams. Winner takes first place in the NFC West. It's the Rams favored by 3 at home. Alec?
Who would have imagined before the year that Sam Darnold and Matthew Stafford would be among MVP conversations? That's something that we never expected before the year, but here we are. I feel the case here between these two is home and home gets the home and home split. LA takes this one, but that's because of the home and home split. They have everything: offense, defense, but though LA could use some improvements with special teams, but they just signed the thicker kicker. Who doesn't love thicker kickers? I'm picking the Rams, but you gotta shout out some big kickers, you know.
Oh, I love Pillsbury Doughboy kickers, Kev.
Oh yeah.
So on this one, I do think it's going to be a close game, but I like the Seahawks in this one. I think that the secondary is going to be the big difference in this game. I think that Seattle has the better secondary. Give me the Seahawks by 7.
Tough one. I'm going to take Seattle. There's just something about, I think getting Rashid Shaheed is going to start to pay off for them in this one. Plus, if they don't have Devontae Adams, which is starting to look a little bit likely, I think that the Seahawks can pull this one off. All right, we got to go quick. We got to get your fresh finder fried. Niners at Cardinals. Welcome back, Brock Purdy. Niners favored by 3.5. Alec?
49ers either way. No matter if it's Brock Purdy or Mac Jones, the 49ers will get this one. Win, cover.
Kevin?
Yeah, Niners win and cover as well.
Niners win and cover as well for me. All right, next up, we got the Baltimore Ravens at the Cleveland Browns. Browns are a dumpster fire. Baltimore by 7.5. Alec?
Any questions about this? Baltimore.
No.
Win and cover.
All right, Kev?
You said it, not me. Ravens win and easily cover.
Hey, I still think back to the FFF about the Browns from a couple weeks ago. I'm going to go with the Ravens as well. Next up, we got a very critical matchup. We're still going to try and pick up the pace a little bit here. Chiefs at the Broncos in Mile High. No J.K. Dobbins, R.J. Harvey time. Chiefs by 4 is the spread. Alec?
The fact that the Broncos are 8-2, leading the AFC West, and are listed as 4-point underdogs against the Chiefs it should tell you all you need to know about the Broncos. I'm not even going to call them the 2020 Steelers. That's an insult to the 2020 Steelers because at least that year's Steelers can produce competent offense. The Broncos lead the league in punts with 53. We don't know what type of team they are truly. But this game is going to tell you what they are. So far, the majority of their wins have come against weak opponents and self-destructing franchises. But I'm going to say Chiefs win and cover in this one because I don't see how I have any faith in this Broncos team to keep this sustainability up. I'm sorry, but this needs to be said.
I think people are sensing the Chiefs comeback. Kev?
Sean Payne is a terrorist, and Rashee Rice is going to eat. Give me the Chiefs by 7.
Dear God. I'm taking the Chiefs as well. For some reason, I just feel it coming. Even though it's in Mile High, I just sense the comeback coming. All right, next up, we got Sunday Night Football. We got 2 of the best teams in the NFC. The Detroit Lions at the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles favored by 2.5. And if you have A.J. Brown on your fantasy team, he wants you off. Alec?
Well, you said it, AJ, not me. But even though I have you on my fantasy team. But then again, the pass coverage for the Lions, I don't know about them, but run defense it should be here for them. This is a pick'em game. Can go swing one way, can swing the other. But and we also don't know what type of team the Eagles are. Man, that Monday Night Football game, so glad I was not watching that. Just wipe it away from our memories. Don't even think about it.
Bad.
Don't even bother. talking about it. Just wipe it off. Focus on this game where, what do they say in Detroit? What's the common greeting? What up, though?
All right, Kev.
Yeah, this will be another close one. Keep in mind also that Sam Laporta is going to be inactive for this game. He's going to be out. So, And also the Eagles' offensive line is getting healthy at the right time. They're playing better. Lions, I think, will definitely provide a challenge. But I do think the Lions could barely win this one. I feel like the Eagles, again, even though they're a top team in the NFC, we kind of don't know if they're like, I guess, consistent enough is I guess the right word I'm going to use. Because this team has shown flaws like here and there, but they've always found ways to win. So, but with the Lions, I guess same case in the sense. So it could really it could be a pick'em game. But for this one, I'm going to go with Lions, just barely.
I'm picking Detroit as well to upset in Philadelphia. Philadelphia's offense can be very one-dimensional at times. And the way A.J. Brown has been utilized has almost been criminal. It really has. And it's not all his fault. I mean, he's a diva wide receiver, so he's expected to have off seasons like this and then expect to complain and get more targets. But whatever. I'm going with the Lions. And then on Monday Night Football, we got the Dallas Cowboys at the Las Vegas Raiders. Dallas there by 3.5 on the road. Alec?
Well, Cowboys win it, but I'm going to be honest. I'll be watching hockey that night.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you, Kev.
Yeah, that's a stinker of a game in my opinion. I think Cowboys win and easily cover.
I'm going to say the Cowboys as well. I'm only watching for fantasy purposes. Anyway, that is Fresh Spreads, idealized by Talercios for Week 11. I can't believe we're already halfway through the regular season, more than halfway through. But now we got to get into my absolute favorite segment of the show. It is one called Fresh, Fine, or Fried. How does this go? You know how it goes. One of us gets a take. We vent about it. For now, it's an option. You can now have a take that can go 2.5 or 5 minutes. Now, that's how Fresh, Fine, or Fried is going to be. And after the end of your take, you'll be rated on a scale of fresh, fine, or fried. Fresh meaning good, fine meaning okay, or fried meaning, dude, go to a different career. This ain't for you. Kevin is on the hot seat this week, and as you can see by his background, you know what's coming up next. Kevin is elected to choose a 5-minute take for Fresh, Fine, or Fried. Kev, 5 minutes. Are you ready?
1 second.
I know where this is going.
I guess he's getting a certain hat.
Yes, he is.
Maybe. Oh. Is it a hat? Are you sure about that?
Wait.
Or is it something else?
Wait a minute. Oh!
I'm sure you can tell where this Fresh, Fine, or Fried is going. All right, now I'm ready.
Go.
All right, so I want to talk about, obviously, the AL MVP race, and it's official that Aaron Judge has won the 2025 American League MVP over Cal Raleigh. Now, he won it, but with 17 first-place votes, and Cal Raleigh was shortly behind him with 13 second-place votes. And I'm going to be brutally honest with you guys. I'm surprised it was that close because, listen, Cal Raleigh, he had a tremendous season. I don't think anyone is going to deny that we probably saw one of the best, if not the best, season by a catcher in probably ever in MLB history. There's no way you can deny that. 60 home runs and leading the league in home runs and RBIs. But I think it just stops there because, I think that, listen, as good as Cal Raleigh is, Aaron Judge overall was just way, way better this season. Let me read off to you some of the stats. So Cal Raleigh beat Judge in games, plate appearances, doesn't really matter at that point. In home runs with 60, of course. RBIs with 125, 2 more stolen bases, and FRV. I know what FRV is. But then here's all the stuff that Judge beats Cal Raleigh in. Average, on-base percentage, slugging, OPS, ROBA, OPS plus, WOBA. Oh, there you go. WRC plus, RBAT plus, RWAR, FWAR, runs, hits, doubles, triples, walks, intentional walks, TBs, BRV, and DRS. A defensive rating. He has a better defensive rating than him. So you look at all of that, and people you know what I think it is? people are desensitized to the greatness of Aaron Judge. You take a look at that 33-31 average. Aaron Judge is not a contact hitter. He is a pure power hitter. The fact that he led the league in a batting title with that high of an average, and Cal Raleigh, look at his average, almost 100 points less, 247. That's barely league average. And I'm sorry, no MVP, I don't care how many home runs you hit, no MVP should be batting 247. I'm sorry. The last time that we saw the lowest batting average that we've seen by a position player at MVP was Shohei Ohtani in 2021 when he batted 257. And that's more justified because he can pitch too. So I can see why in that sense. But I get all the criticisms. What Cal Raleigh had the more valuable season. Okay, in that sense, like I can get in that sense, like for his team, yes, like he got them to the postseason. But I would argue that it would matter more for the Yankees if they lost Judge as opposed to if they lost Cal Raleigh. I think if Cal Raleigh didn't have the season that he had, I think if you take Cal Raleigh off the Mariners, I still think the Mariners will make the playoffs because of their pitching and because of the acquisitions that they made with Josh Naylor, Randy Arozarena, even Jorge Polanco. And with Judge, it's a proven fact that if you take Judge off of this Yankees team, they are not a postseason team. It's proven. In 2023, when Judge missed half the season, the Yankees went 82-80, and missed the postseason. And this year, when he missed time, 10 games worth, they went 4-6 in that span. So Judge is definitely like a better catalyst. Batting average, Judge was 331. The next highest behind him was 311. That's insanity. And also, this is the third season in which Aaron Judge has had an OPS plus of at least 200. The eighth player to accomplish the feat with Babe Ruth, Barry Bonds, Ted Williams, Rogers Hornsby, Mantle, Garrett, and Cobb. These are legends of the sport. And we're acting like a 200 OPS plus and 200 WRC plus is just something that he does every season. It's not. In fact, it's one of the greatest seasons by a right-handed hitter you're ever going to see. And also, a big quote that people like to say is that if you take Cal Raleigh's OPS and lower that by 100, he would be average. If you lower Aaron Judge's OPS by 100, he'd be Cal Raleigh. Now, I get the point that like Cal Raleigh played a more physical and demanding position, but you can't knock that on Judge. We're really going to rob Judge based off of a 7 home run and an 11 RBI difference, seriously? And also, combined with the fact, let's say you average about 5 at-bats per game, right? In the 10 games they missed, you multiply that, 50 at-bats he never got, plus the AL record 36 intentional walks he got, that's 86 at-bats he never got. So you don't think that Judge would surpass Raleigh in his home run and RBI stats? And one last thing, and I'm going to go a little over, but one thing the media doesn't like to mention to you is that Cal Raleigh uses not 1, but 2 torpedo bats. You don't think that Cal Raleigh's home run production was increased by those 2 torpedo bats? Because if you check his stats, his previous career high in home runs was 34 last year. That jumped up from 34 to 60. You don't think the torpedo bats had something to do with that? And Judge has never used a torpedo bat, and he said he doesn't because he knows that his results speak for themselves. And I'm going to say loud and proud, the right person won the MVP. Aaron Judge is the MVP. Case closed.
Case dismissed. All right. First off, being the Yankee fan here, of course I'm going to say fresh. And you want to know why I would say fresh? Let me just put this back up here for a second. Let me justify the places where Cal Raleigh was better than Aaron Judge. First off, the 30 plate appearances that he had more than Aaron Judge, that actually hurts the batting average even more. Because if you're up to bat 30 more times and you bat 247, you've either struck out more or you've either grounded out more. And the stolen bases thing, come on. Aaron Judge is not the best base stealer in the world. We know this. But the fact that you only beat him by 2 in stolen bases, I mean, come on now. Who are we fooling with this? And actually, let me just say another thing. Aaron Judge struck out less than last year, has a higher batting average than last year, stole more bases than last year, and yeah, the home runs went down, but he's still at 53. I mean, come on. And like, he had 100 more OPS points than Shohei Ohtani, who was the next closest. I mean, who are we trying to fool here? I mean, to me right now, I would be very, very surprised the fact that if they gave this to Cal Raleigh. And thank God for 4 guys in Texas who basically sided with Judge and not Cal Raleigh. Now, it may have been on spite because the Astros missed the postseason because of Seattle, but thank God for Texas beat writers. Thank you.
Also, real quick about that, for the voters' sake, everyone is going to say like this: the voters were all East Coast biased. Actually, if you look at the voter breakdown, the East Coast writers were split exactly between Raleigh and Judge, 7-7. If you look at the West Coast, it's Raleigh 5-1. If you look at those Midwest and Central teams like Texas and all those other teams, they favored Judge 11-3. So there's no East Coast bias there. So that's a flawed argument.
Okay. Now we got to get into the neutral party here. Alec, Fresh Founder Fried.
Well, get some fries over here because I'm about to fry. Nah, it's not fried, but it's just fine the way it is. Not fried. Well, I'll give you about the Judge and the stats. That's and all of that. Though I'll have to say this isn't even Judge's best season of his career. Yeah, he's currently the best player in the AL. And given the team he's on, which is one of the most potent hitting teams in the league, what Cal Raleigh did this season cannot be taken away from. And yes, I have some eerie flashbacks to Bobby Witt Jr. falling short last year because just like Bobby Witt Jr., Cal Raleigh is putting up all these numbers on a less potent batting lineup than the ones that Judge has. And even so, the big dumper just put up the season ever, not only by a switch hitter, but also by a catcher. Yes, as the stats, as they speak for themselves and all that. The home run and RBI totals were something of an afterthought for Judge because he was behind Cal on both categories. The home run record by a catcher was not only broken, but shattered entirely. He finished with a home run every 9.93 at-bats on the year. And for any other position, that would be just another day or an all-time great. But for a catcher, that's unheard of. That's a top 30 mark in MLB history, and that's tied for 27th on the list with Babe Ruth in 1928. Babe Ruth. Anytime you're sitting next to prime Babe Ruth, that means you're cementing yourself in the MVP conversation. And this was with Cal Raleigh having the third heaviest workload of any catcher on the season. The only two ahead of him in terms of workload by catcher, JT Realmuto and William Contreras. And this is the hardest position to play in baseball, harder than being a pitcher. It's not just quantity of the work. Let's bring up the quality of the work. Cal Raleigh finished third in the overall defensive value by a catcher. 42 ahead of him, Patrick Bailey of the Giants and Alejandro Kirk of the Blue Jays. So that's how important Cal Raleigh is to the Mariners, not just as a hitter, but as an overall defender. That we talk about defense, he's one of the most valuable defensive catchers in the MLB. And the fact that he was not nominated for the Gold Glove is an absolute travesty.
Yeah.
I'll agree with that,
Yeah. No shade to Dylan Dingler. He's an outstanding defensive catcher. But the fact that Cal Raleigh was not nominated for the Gold Glove when he had no passed balls on the entire season, it's a travesty to speak of. Absolute travesty. And I'm not discrediting Aaron Judge's season. He's Aaron Judge. We expect greatness out of him. But at the same time, let's not act like Cal Raleigh's 2025 season isn't special, because that was by far and away the greatest season I've ever seen from a catcher.
Now, one thing I will say to help out Aaron Judge is this. Aaron Judge is 33 years old and he's batting .331. Usually by the age of 33, you start to decline. This guy defies logic. And I think that Cal Raleigh had an amazing season. I know there are going to be a bunch of people online who have said, and I have fought with those people online about Aaron Judge, and I've said Aaron Judge through and through, and I've told those people kick rocks. But you know what? Cal Raleigh had an amazing season. If John was on here, I would say the exact same thing. Cal Raleigh had an amazing season. I'm not discrediting him. He's probably had the best season for a catcher ever in Major League Baseball history, and there's nothing to stick your nose up about. But you know what? 331 is greater than 247. That's the one thing I will say for anyone who says Cal Raleigh. 84-point difference. Come on.
Yeah, I'm not gonna disagree with you on that. With 331 being greater than 247, the math speaks for itself. But at the same time, come on, this is the best season ever from a catcher.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I understand it. Listen,
and even
Cal
so,
Raleigh. Go ahead. Finish up.
And even so, this isn't even. I'm not saying this was a robbery because John Schneider was an even bigger robbery than this for AL Manager of the Year.
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
That's 100% true.
A couple more things, stats I want to throw at you guys.
Sure.
I mean, you can disregard all the stats. The one stat I think that I think won him the MVP for Judge. He's only the third player in MLB history to win a batting title and hit 50 or more home runs. That was Jimmy Fox in 1938 and Mickey Mantle in 1956. A 69-year record that someone has done that. And 53 home runs is the most by anyone who's won the batting title. I think that stat alone is what won him the ultimate MVP in my eyes. And then I would also argue that with the 36 intentional walks, which is an AL record, by the way, do you know that that's more, 36 intentional walks, that's more than any other team combined. That should tell you something about Aaron Judge, how feared he is in the league. They don't do that to Cal Raleigh. And Cal Raleigh, I think, is like less than 20 this year, I think. So obviously, like, pitchers have figured out how to pitch around Cal Raleigh, but not Aaron Judge. Judge is just in a world of his own. Listen, Cal Raleigh may have had a historic season, but Aaron Judge had an otherworldly season. And the statistical gap was just far too much for you to just snub Judge once again, because I think if they snubbed Judge, I think it would have been a bigger robbery than 2017 for sure. Because if the MVP, are we judging it based off of stats or storylines and narratives? Because if it's stats, it's Judge by a mile. If it's storylines and narratives, it's Cal Raleigh, no question. If that's the case, what was the narrative in 2017 when Altuve won when the only thing he had over Judge was average? What was the narrative there? Did they just not want to give it to a Yankee? Did they just not want to give it to a rookie? Because there's no way you can justify that Judge not winning MVP then. What's the difference here?
Fair. Anyway, we got to go. But before we go, we got to give a shout out to our partner, MyCamp Solutions, on-time payments, wholesale credit card company in Arizona. And if you want to know more about them, listen to this ad of me and my boxing gear.
Hey, I'm Matt Sirianni, and I'm a quarter of Foursquare Sports. And if you don't know me by now, I'm all about Octagon Payments and MyCamp Solutions. MyCamp Solutions is the only wholesale credit card company that will give you amazing processing rates without signing a long-term contract. And along with outstanding customer service, this company is a betting favorite against anyone you put in front of them. So sign up today. Go to www.mycampsolutions.com or www.octagonpayments.com and apply now. MyCamp Solutions. It's a first-round knockout.
Again, gonna give myself a pat on the back every time I see that. But anyways, from Kevin's old colleague Alex Nava and previously John Welch, I'm Matt Sirianni. God bless you all for watching today's episode of Foursquare Sports. We'll be back with you next Saturday. And of course, this has been Foursquare Sports, which is sports at its core. Take care, everybody. Have a good night. Peace out.
Hi, everybody. Christopher Mad Dog Russo here. And you know what I do? Foursquare Sports on Sunday nights, 6 to 8, with all those parts of the country taken care of. Listen all the time. You got it. Mad Dog on Mad Dog Unleashed. Listen to my guys. Listen to my guys.